Peace and blessings. What's up, y'all? This is Nicole Blu Nyle. You're welcome back to Revolutionary Addictdotes, the podcast where we are dedicated to breaking the chains of generational trauma and allowing us to be our powerful, incredible selves that we were born to be, and letting the life situations move out of the way and shine our bright lights, right? And today I have my brother, my friend, and God, like in greatness. And when we say God, I'm talking about the most high, 10,000 names for the same name, love, unconditional love. Jason Benefiel, welcome to the podcast, brother.
Hey. Thank you for having me here. It's great to be here today.
I'm just grateful to have this conversation today about surviving spiritual awakenings. And now I'm gonna let you introduce you and tell the people who you is. I don't want to speak for you, but I'm grateful that we are family from the Agape. Shout out to our Reverend and teacher Michael Beckwith. But we actually met at Simply Wholesome, the African American grocery store. Say
Yeah,
Baldwin Hills. Shout out to
yeah,
Wholesome. So please introduce yourself, my friend.
yeah, absolutely. So my name is Jason Benefield. I am a Agape licensed spiritual practitioner. I am also a gentleman that just has a will for helping to transform people's pain into purpose, just knowing that their lives are valuable, important, and that they matter, as you can see here on my background. But then also, um, I'm just a young man that just went through a hard time in life and just saw that there was always a light at the end of the tunnel, and I just kept continued to claw towards it,
Yes.
and to
Yes.
do anything and everything possible to see that light and be that light. So that's who I am in a nutshell.
I say the limitless divine being, which I'm grateful because as a practitioner, now I'm in the course taking the class. You got to take hella classes. So you did all that. I had a different route, but for us to come together and just okay. So as far as spiritual awakenings and share how we've survived these awakenings, what it even means to become a practitioner. You want to share like a little bit about that in general, like what does it mean to
Yeah,
become a practitioner in life? Rev talks about it a lot, but what's your take on it?
yeah. Most definitely. Rev does talk about the fact that we're already practitioners. It's not about always taking those classes, but yet the classes help. Please do not do
Fire.
not
Changed my
kid
life.
yourself. Okay. You need to take classes. You definitely need to be steeped in teaching and understanding in order for your transformation to take place because a lot. I mean, I tried this, and I've done this. I tried to maneuver and move mountains and where I currently was, believing I granted I knew that I always had God with me. I
Mhm.
always knew I had spirit with me.
Mhm.
And I knew that I also had to learn in order for me to grow, in order for me to be stronger, in order for me to move mountains. And
Yeah.
so and
Yeah.
so that is something I definitely knew and understand, began to know and understand, and that's why being on this journey of unfoldment of constant recreating, regenerating myself, I wanted to know and be who I am always and continuously,
Yes.
without fail. So then that way, whatever seemingly illusions of problems and circumstances arise, I know exactly what I need to do in order to make sure that I am standing tall and being firm with my word and my yes and my no's and also being
Mm.
divinely guided throughout my life. But as a your question about being a practitioner,
Oh, but that's
yeah.
all. I love it all. Yes, 100. 100.
I got into a teaching and it was like, oh wow.
No, I mean, but that's the human evolution. You're speaking about the mirror work and the shadow work that I must do for myself before I could be a practitioner for anyone else. I'm a practitioner for myself, for
Yes.
spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. Most definitely. It's same thing with self-love, right? It's all that path of self-love. If you don't know how to love yourself, if you don't know how to look at yourself in the mirror and just know that you are a beautiful and wonderful being,
Yes.
how can you look at someone else and say the same thing?
Ooh.
Because you're going to look at any informalities, anything that's not going to be in alignment with uh, um, how you think you should look based on societal
Mm,
ideas and
mm,
beliefs, right?
Yeah.
Who do you see yourself as? And so it's the same thing,
Right.
even with being a practitioner, walking that light. Who do I begin to see myself as the one true life, the one true essence that is who I am?
That part. And when you brought self-love in already in the spiritual awakening, that is something that I feel like is an onion within an onion as get honest, right? And we always talk about the acronym of how: honesty, open with openness, open mind, willingness, right?
Mm-hmm.
As that develops and gets more secure, so I get to speak my truth in a more honest way, I find I have more acceptance for the parts that were hard to love as I share
Mm-hmm.
it, just like and then within relations, like the lessons that I learned through every relationship, so I can look in the mirror and say, okay, this is how I want to grow. I'm not really proud of how I showed up there, but now I get to change because I did my best, right?
Yeah,
I cannot
yeah,
accept that was the best and learn how to love myself and say, okay, God, spirit, help me grow in the quality of discipline, flesh get thee behind me, that beauty and eros love. Like that is how
yeah.
we make decisions moving forward, right? Because self-love is often with the beauty and the ego, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot to that, you know. Wow.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
because it's amazing, right? The so many different things that are put before us, and I'll speak from the eye. So many different things that have been put before me
Yes.
that I have to look at, and then I have to be a multitasker. Like there's just absolutely no way to allow the unfoldment of all life to be able to help happen and take place. So I have to be a multitasker. I
Right.
have to see that over here, you know, I need to believe and know that my finances are the very life of me and the extension
Yeah.
of how I think and believe and I feel. And I have to look over here to know that my health is very, very important and how I keep myself up, what I put into my body,
Yeah.
you know, how I exercise. And then I have to know right here before me that, you know, my well-being, my lifestyle really needs to take place. And so it's like,
Saying I
okay,
have. I love that you're saying I have. That's so
I
solar plexus power. I have it. Yeah.
yeah, it's already here.
Yeah.
Like this is who I am. And so I have to look at this and to be this in order for me to express how or to manifest what I want in the natural, in the
Right.
open. And that's the only way is that I have to acknowledge that it's there and then I have to do what it takes for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof.
I
So
have
that,
to do what it takes for me
yeah.
to really be in the flow.
Yeah. You said so many things. And I'm like, okay. So for us being steeped in these works, since I was born, you were born too. So like for somebody new who is just like, what y'all talking about? You know what I mean? Like who already is like trying to build a faith, say hello to the universe. Even if y'all are not into, we go beyond religiosity here. It's spirituality, which I love this quote where it's like, religion is for people who are scared of hell, and spirituality
Mm,
is for people who have been there, right? So we
yeah.
know that everything exists at the same time, and we go to the Most High and allow that to, just like Yeshua was saying, like, yeah, the kingdom of heaven is within you, right? So we have
Yeah.
the power of our voice, and we know our universal laws. But for the people who are new and are like, okay, but what about this Jesus Christ, and what about this? Like, how do you allow someone to get over the block of separating spirituality and religion?
Yeah. The way that I have done it is that I had to look at the fact that there's only one,
Mm,
you know, and I was taught this coming from a young age that there is only one. So even though my uncle was teaching from New Thought, Ageless Wisdom, and from the Bible, he never separated and said that these are two different entities. He
mm,
always taught me that there's only one. And so if we look at
yeah,
how individuals like Mary Baker Eddy, like Charles Fillmore, like Ernest Holmes, like Michael Beckwith, who's a mystic all in his own right,
yes,
and we look at the teachings of Jesus the Christ, the Buddha, Krishna, you know, we look at all of these individuals and all of these entities that have allowed spirit to speak through them
yeah,
and realize that no matter what, matter of fact, I'll even throw something in here that's going to be a huge curveball to a lot of you. People like Les Brown, like Lisa Nichols, like
yeah,
Zig Ziglar, like Jim
yes,
Rohn. You see what I'm saying? When you look at all of these individuals that has tapped into something that was higher and greater and bigger than themselves,
Yep.
they will tell you that there is only one.
Ashe.
And
Ashe.
so that's how you can look at everything and be like, oh my goodness, no matter how I see it, no matter what I hear, it all goes back to one thing.
But when you say that, yeah, I was just gonna say, because I know what you mean. One, I always
Yeah.
love is my religion because my whole life I love the Corinthians and I love studying the Course in Miracles changed my life. I love
Oh
studying the
yeah.
Bible changed my life. And so many of those books that I have, the Bhagavad Gita that I stay steeped in, right? And I
Yeah.
understand that it's like many names for the same thing, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
a lot of people have this dogma that they've been hypnotized and they sadly can't choose for themselves. So it's like
Mm.
awaken when I help others awaken and I allow them, like we work a program and we're like, all right, so you get to choose a higher power of your understanding, like
Mm.
have authority for that, right? And it's wild to see how many people are like, what I do, that's blasphemy. How can you say that I'm with God? That's what God told me to me this week in one of my classes. And I was like, no, my love, I need you to decolonize your mind, baby. We are powerful,
Right.
you know?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's so true what you said about decolonization because of the fact that unfortunately individuals that have that are of a different ethnicity, not trying to say that we're all separate because we are still all one being, but different ethnicities have been colonized to believe that there is this God in the sky that doesn't like us when
Yeah,
we don't do what we believe it we should be doing,
yeah,
and so that idea was all a way to capture the mind and to keep it enslaved in
yes,
order for these individuals to be able to control how you think, feel, and believe. And so the thing about spirituality is that it is the freedom of you to think beyond any limited circumstance or problem or situation that takes place in your life that
yeah,
allows you to believe that there's something greater above and beyond what you may think or believe in what's placed before you. If
yeah,
somebody places a a chicken dinner before you and say that this is all that we serve, and then you say, but wait a minute though, I see that other people are able to have lasagna and
right,
pizza and Chinese food and Indian food. How come I can't be free enough to be able to experience different ways of eating? And
right,
so it's the same thing with spirituality. It allows you to be able to see that there is an array of ways to be one, to live, and to know the expression of God as your life,
yeah.
and that each way comes together like cogs in a wheel,
Mm-hmm.
and
Absolutely.
it's a well-oiled working machine. And
Mm,
it's to your benefit to be a part of that machine. It's a benefit for you to be a part of that life that's going to allow you to build and grow and unfold.
I love that so much. So juicy, so delicious. So this is what I'm saying, y'all. Like revolutionary. And it's revolutionary to decolonize our mind to allow ourselves, especially what's happening right now, where democracy is
Yeah.
gone in January, right? And God bless all of our entire earth. And it's time for us now to go to grassroots of to collect. And if we don't have spiritual authority and power, and you think that, man, saying that I am one with God, you're never going to wake up out of the machine, the matrix. That's the absolute, like that fear, which is false evidence appearing real, right?
Mm-hmm.
Faith, everything, and rise. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of this is learned behaviors from childhood. So now spiritual
Mm-hmm.
things, y'all, like I went through so many near-death experiences were my first spiritual awakenings. And from 17 to 21, right? Really intense. No, not everybody has to do that. So thank God. And I would even beg to say that even earlier in my life, surviving my childhood was a spiritual experience, right? But intentionally when I started doing the work 15 years ago, the shadow work, the Reiki trainings, breath work, yoga, study, 100, all these things, that's when I intentionally was aware of the spiritual awakenings. Before I was just in fear. I was asleep. I didn't know. I was all in my head. Like, what's wrong with me? Self. I shouldn't be here because I'm different. So these are real thoughts that happen in my mind. Now I want to know for you when you start to wake up and be like, dang, okay, I have the power of choice in my life. Like I can actually choose who I get to be, and I can look in the mirror and change it, and I can release the learned behaviors from childhood. What came up for you? Like, and maybe you weren't even thinking that deep on the release behaviors from childhood, but just releasing your behaviors. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolute. Like, before you, everyone, is that you're looking at a person that has um, also died multiple times in the form of having petit mal seizures. And I call that dying because of the fact of I wasn't available. I was like who is before you was not there when those were happening. There were other awakenings that were taking place that were for some reason not in my control. And
Mm,
so that's why I feel like that I have died multiple times because of the fact that every time I came back a new being. I came back a new person that was brighter. And it was like, even though these individuals that are my family members are speaking against me
mm,
about something that they don't realize I didn't know what to do about it or how to do anything about it,
wow.
I still wanted to love them. I still wanted to be a part of their lives. I still wanted them to be a part of my life. And now that I'm older, I'm starting to realize that they don't have to be a part of my life. It's okay that they're not there, but I can still love them
Yes.
from who they are from afar. And so, you know, yet though, in that time though, I was abandoned. I was not feeling like I was worth anything. I was the type of individual that wasn't felt like that love was something that could be done because of the fact that I was different
Wow.
in those moments, and that
Unworthy,
that
like
was
not
the very.
like
Say it
unworthy,
again.
unworthy to receive love. I just want to understand that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. So just not worthy of being a family member, not
Mm,
worthy of being a human being, not
yeah.
worthy of being loved. Absolutely, we can go there too,
Yeah.
and then also just
Yeah, baby.
just really not oh man.
I know it's deep.
It is deep because I believe like a lot of times when I talk to people about this, about myself, and the more I explain it, I express it, it's like I get to have more verbs. Where
Yeah.
before, it was very a limited conversation.
Ooh.
And then now it's an expansive conversation where individuals are not able to tap into saying, oh my goodness, it wasn't the same thing that you went through, yet it was the same reactions, it was the same emotions, it was the same feeling tone that you had that I've had. And so now I know that we can connect because you're able to help me or facilitate how I can too continue to see the light at the end of the tunnel and continue to
Yeah.
go forward and not allow myself to stray,
Yes.
to stray to the fact that in order for me to really be acknowledged and seen, I have to do something that is against man's law.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
But what about the law of yourself? What about the law of the spirit that says
oh.
that anything that I think and believe, I know I can attract, you know? So it's like, so what, like there's this one song I grew up with in the Christian church when I used to go to the Christian churches, whose report will you believe? Who will you really focus on? Will you believe and know that you are a limitless and wonderful, powerful being, or will you believe that you're nothing and that all you could do is just scrape at the bottom and steal and pillage in order to get what you want? Or do
Yes.
you know that everything already comes to you? And so I chose to just believe that I believe that everything comes to me, everything tracks to me.
So I love that. You said so much. And
I
so
did. Excuse me.
as for me, like allowing, thank you for sharing that. And I see you and I feel you. And it's right. We have different stories, but the same feeling tones, the same feelings. We can't argue about feelings, but we can if you decide to argue about facts, which I don't want to argue, but I love to have intellectual, beautiful, loving, heart-centered conversation with you.
Yeah, right.
Allowing me to know that the spirit, like for instance, a spiritual awakening of knowing that I had to choose to give up alcohol because it just was not furthering my path anymore. And that was so hard because I then realized that my whole life had to change. meaning I use it as a crutch. Now friends have to change, people have to change. I can't use that as a crutch or escape anymore. So now I have to learn new tools, AKA understanding, compassion, patience. And that is hard work. And a lot of people, when they see that, I'll speak for myself. I love a challenge. I love a challenge to be able to be like, okay, I need to show up more here. I'm gonna shape shift and I'm gonna do the work to become a better person to do that. I say yes to that. I have a high pain tolerance. Most people are like, nah, I'm good. I just want to chill. I don't want to do this hard work. What about that? For those, it's like, okay, yes, and you don't want to do this now, but you can't run away from yourself. Wherever you go, there you are. So yes, another relationship's ending. What is the lessons for me? Another job, another change in government. What does this mean about me? Regardless, I am the taproot. I am the answer. I am the solution, and God is the higher power is. But how do I get out of my own way? That's why I always pray. I'm like, ego, get behind me. Spirit, update my ego so that I can learn a new way and not be right. Because we react. I react. I apologize. That's my part a lot of time, being reactive. An East Coaster, like I still have to pause when I just want to pop off sometimes. And I'm like, that's why I'm so steeped in this mindfulness. But most people are not. I know it makes me a better person.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Right
want to be
on.
a better person.
Right. Right. Right
Always,
on.
you know?
Yeah, right on. This is very interesting. You mentioned earlier about the challenge, that you love a challenge, and I believe that was one thing for me in the dating world. I love challenges. I love to approach the ladies at the bar that didn't want to be talked to, that any guy would ignore, right? Because for some reason, I felt like I had the ability, I had the words, and I had the power to be like shifting her mood so that when she look at me, it's just like, oh my God, why did I ignore this beautiful, wonderful man? You know what I'm saying?
Love
And
that. Yeah.
so, so, so I allowed myself to really do that. But then I realized later, why did I do that? Why
Mm.
was I attracted to the ones that weren't looking at me? I
Mm-hmm.
was attracted to a person in my life who turned their back on me,
Ooh.
who did not love me the way I wanted to be loved. So I felt like if I showed you that I could love you,
Oh my
that
God.
you would love me back the way I wanted to be loved. And trust and believe me when I tell you this, is that I think except for one at that time, none of them reciprocated back what I really needed for me.
I feel you deeply, brother. You know, me too. Me too, fam. And that's why I'm grateful we have each other because I see you and I reciprocate. We reciprocate. We have a very reciprocal to heal those wounds, which you said so much. You did it for them, right? The shadow work.
Right.
Yeah. Attracted to this unavailable, gorgeous woman. Right.
Right, 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 right. She,
My family was unavailable and mean. So I'm attracted to
yes.
a mean girl who ain't talking to nobody because she mean.
She didn't want nobody. She didn't want me. She wanted to be left alone, honestly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But yet, because of the fact that I didn't give up, she probably felt that I would never give up on her.
And
But
then,
that wasn't reciprocated, that she would never give up on me.
so your work, and then being steeped in this and understanding. I know you and I have had many awakenings this year together, sharing our experience, strength, and hope. Like, dang, brother, like, so with looking in the mirror and coming to that realization, oh, shoot, okay, so I am repeating the patterns of childhood. Back to what we were saying earlier, because I feel like for me, spiritual awakening and where we're going, because we breaking those that family trauma, breaking the secret that don't talk, don't trust the
Mm,
the illusion of loyalty, but it's an illusion, it's a delusion, it's not true loyalty because it's not aligned with the values that I desire family to mean.
yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Yeah,
know that
yeah.
I'm worthy and I have the authority to choose my values and live by them.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolute, absolute, and and here's the thing, right? With the family value idea, I mean, it's read in different magazines and it's seen on TV. Like one of my favorite shows was Donna Reed, and then another one of my favorite shows growing up was
That show.
Make Room for Danny. Yeah, It's old. I
Oh
mean,
wow.
we talk about black and white, you know.
Yeah. For different strokes. Like
Right, right,
a different
exactly,
world is
exactly.
my like childhood thing. A different world like that. I really
Right,
that's my
right. Like the Cosby Show, right?
yeah.
Exactly. Like I dig that. Like those are my favorite shows as well. Cosby Show, Different World, you know, maybe Family Matters to
I
some
love
extent,
Family Matters.
you know.
Was
Um
like that weird one who's still so fly because I was so weird and I didn't have nobody to show me that I'm dope, but I'm weird and I'm myself, trying to be alike and a part of and belong. You're like, so Urkel helped me out.
Well, and look at that. Look at that, right? Look at the fact that, and I think I watch this now with more of expanded awareness. When I start to watch the movies that I used to watch and watch the TV shows I used to watch, I'd be like, man, what is it about this society? What is it about the way that people paint individuals,
Mhm.
right? If you're not this jock, if you're not this pretty cheerleader, then you are beneath the world
Yeah.
that are scientists and that are thinkers and that are readers and that are people that actually run and create this world, right?
Yeah.
And think about that for a minute, like how you put these individuals that are the jocks, that are the cheerleaders on a pedestal, and
Yeah.
then underneath their foot are individuals that are the ones that
Mine.
create the businesses, that have the minds, that are tapped into their truth and who they are,
Yep.
right? And then they work, these people that we put up on that are put on a pedestal, work for those that are the thinkers,
Mm.
that are the creators.
I hear you.
And so like, why not shift the dynamic?
That's what we're doing
Why
now.
not show something different? Show that the thinkers and the creators and the people that are the pretty or the fit individuals can come together and they can do the same thing, and then they can live together. They can be together.
Hey.
You see what I'm saying? No one has to be separated in an idea where it doesn't where it may not suit someone else,
Well,
you know.
think of history though, like the hunter tells a story, not the lions, right? The hunter writes
Absolute.
the history books and we go into our ancestors, right? Where the lions are speaking of now. And back to Hollywood, back to television, we're talking about wealthy white racist place like Lena Horne and all of these first black actors, what they had to go through.
Hmm.
Never mind that, just to get different colors, never mind different actual broad characters and humanity and the infinite beings that we are. So like it's back to systemic isms we were shown
Hmm.
on TV because that's what passed. That's what Hollywood was.
Hmm.
Racist capitalism. Capitalism.
Yes.
What does capitalism want you to do? Go to sleep and work for us. And we're going to show you
Hmm.
you can never be us. So look up to the stars.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
we all stars. I had to
yeah,
humble
yeah.
go through that too. Like being working with people who I looked up to, like now I know their peers and colleagues, and my ego deaths brought me to like, I don't even care about none of y'all. Give me Reverend Michael is all I look up to. Y'all tripping.
Absolutely. And when you look to someone like Reverend Michael is saying, I'm creating leaders. I'm creating people that create the ways that all of us can be. You see what I'm saying? And that we all can go to higher heights,
Yes.
And you're right. Like, because
Yes.
there is no limitation in our lives. There is, I mean, and if we know and we believe that, like even Nelson Mandela never allowed himself to be limited to being in jail, that he knew that his mind was bigger and more expansive than the 20 by 20 that he was in.
Exactly. That limitation of
So
mind.
we can do that. We
Yeah.
have that ability, and we have to look outside of uh 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 status and we have to look outside of hierarchy, and we have to look outside of positioning,
Hmm.
and just know that we can all be greater, marvelous, expansive beings. We don't have to just think and be one way.
So like how though? Like I know how, obviously.
Yeah.
Wants to be
Yeah.
question for this conversation and for people beginning, but still also I don't like to say I know because I'm a student forever learning. I'm humbling myself as I get more mindful and more still. Patience is the mother of all teachers, mother patience. She got my butt
Yeah.
flinging up a bungee cord like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. You
Wild.
know, the how is like is so phenomenal, right? Because we don't have to worry about it.
Drop some bars, drop some bars.
That's what that's what makes the how so phenomenal is that we don't have to look at it. This is what we have to do. And this is what I commission and suggest that we all do
Hmm.
is that we look at what is calling us to no longer continue to be stagnated. What
Ashe.
is it that is continuing to call us to no longer see that there's nothing else better for me, that I can't do anything more than where I am. And so when we begin to look at that, when when we begin to look at that, then that's when we say, okay, what is it mine to do? What is it mine to create? What do I do? Who am I supposed to be in order to make sure that that happens for me?
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and then say, I am willing to do the will regardless of what is going to happen to me.
Mm, mm,
And I say it like that because I don't ever want you to think that you're not going to ever go through any ups or downs or any crashes and
mm.
then get right back up, heal yourself back up again, and then go right back at it
Right.
because that's what life is going to be about. I won't say I got over, but I went through a moment where I went through a huge crash. Yes, absolutely. A practitioner 3 years in went through a hard crash. Absolutely. You want to know why? Because I said yes to ever unfolding, ever
On.
expanding,
Thank you.
right? And
Yes.
so no matter what, I am still going to go through moments and opportunities of growth where I have to look at myself and see where there's areas that I continue to block myself off.
Yes.
Yesterday, I did something that was just truly wonderful. I did something called tapping, and this is something
Oh,
that
I love tapping.
you love tapping. See,
Love tapping. I'm
we,
a
we
practitioner of tapping. Yes.
and so and I'm going to be learning that and I'm going to be learning some other modalities too. I'm going to go through another practitioner program that's going to allow me to expand my facilitation, but then also expand my own self-teaching and
But
self-learning.
you said, hold up. You said so much right there because that's
Uh-huh.
right. Honesty. Coming back to honesty, like
Yeah.
that you as a 3 year in this practitioner field went through something now. That is so important for doctors, for therapists, for people. I am 15 years in these teachers and trainings of teachers sitting with learning how to energy work trainings and learning how to heal myself and awakening and 10 years in recovery. But yet there, what happened to me this year, this the biggest breakthrough of my life because I was steeped in teachings and have
Yeah.
the tools and the awareness,
Yeah.
do this shadow work face on and focus on my part. Who am I being? Who was I being that is now retired? Thank you. Acknowledge her because that was fear, survival.
Hmm.
But thank you for saying that because there's an ego where I'm very transparent on my platform. I'm very transparent with everything, but there's a spiritual ego that I was battling of how honest can I be? How much do I tell? And then God said, stop,
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah. Right.
Truth and be who you are, period. And as long as
Yeah.
you're telling the truth, baby, your people will be there and your clients will come. You're not, the fear is not welcome here. Fear of
Yeah.
what in clients, because I'm going to be honest about my journey too. Well, guess what? You're not an aligned client then. Because if you think I'm not a human, I don't want to be your idol. I want to teach you to heal yourself
Yes, yes. Yes,
and wake up
yes.
to your higher power,
Yes, yes.
not me.
Yes, yes.
Don't make it me because I will disappoint you. I'm human.
Yes.
Spirit will not. And when I clear my way, always before a client, always
Mm.
show up radiating unconditional love, I did the
Yes.
work. Now, after the session's done, and now I've done 2 text mails, a picture that I don't want to see, it's time for my work again.
Yeah. Right. Right? Oh my God.
That's real.
Oh, oh man. Oh my gosh.
I know.
It is it's so amazing that, I used to think, like, I used to be a part of this organization called Prepaid Legal years ago. And one of the things that helped me out a lot was the personal development that I learned and went through. That's why I know individuals like Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar and Les Brown. And, well, I knew Les Brown before that, but that's why I knew about these individuals, Dale Carnegie. And so the thing is that I always thought that after I read the book and I knew the information and I was practicing the information that I was done. I thought that once I read the book, did the tools, did the practices, had my encounter with one person, that was it. Like, right, I
One
was
person.
Superman on steroids. You see what I'm saying? Like, there was nothing that could penetrate me.
Yep.
Until I realized, and even my mentor, he's still my mentor to this day, Irv Watson. He stated to me, I remember he said it so clear. He said, Jason, you're never done.
That part.
And I said, what do you mean I'm never done? I mean, look at you. Look at how you can stand in front of these people. Look how you have gathered all these people together to make money together. You know what I'm saying? What do you mean I'm never done? He said, Jason, I still go through things regardless of where I am, regardless of what level I'm at.
Human condition. Hello.
you know, and,
People will
and
have us
now
tripping.
tripping all the time, thinking that there's absolutely that's it. You went to school, you got your degree, you got the job, you have the house, you have the family, you got the dog, you got the cars. You see what I'm saying? You got the woman of your dreams,
All of
and
this
then
is
that's
all
it.
that matrix checklist stuff. That's the thing. That's the thing. This is African spirituality, and learning shamanism saved my life. I'm so grateful for stepping into that TP 15 years ago and my life changing, because I was humbled. My ego death brought me to the earth of realizing fire, earth, water, and air, and the relationship with all things and with yourself, that I had
Yes.
run as an AI, thinking that I'm a rapper, I'm successful, I'm this, I'm that, I'm doing this, Boston, New York. And then all of a sudden it flatlined. And I'm
Mm,
like, wait, what? That all of this are identities, and the identity is the ego. And I am limited
mm,
beyond that. And I've been limiting myself.
mm,
And I did the same thing where I look, okay, check. I remember specifically with one textbook, one of my spiritual books, I just read the contents, the description in the front. I'm like, check, 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 check.
yes.
I remember that very clearly 10 years ago, sitting there. And just that's the denial dying, the denial melting. I lived in denial, because denial is also a safety mechanism from childhood. We live in denial, so you don't have to admit actually what happened, so that we can survive the trauma. Actually,
Mm,
trauma response. Well, I
mm,
can have compassion for me and younger me and all the things I did, because it was a trauma response. And now that I've learned that,
mm,
and I have so much compassion for myself and others because of learning and studying and being a forever student of psychology and healing generational trauma, as
mm,
client number one, as human number one, as inner child number one,
mhm,
and discussing that and knowing that, like, I have to release more and more. I get to release more and more denial every day when I sit in front of a divine mirror, true mirror like you, Jason, who I love and
mm,
respect. And
mhm.
I can truly see myself and my traits, and we can be honest and have relationship repair, like
Yeah.
here when our egos clash or timing clash, because that's just a part of the human condition.
Yeah. Oh my God, is it ever? And it's like, and it's also like, is the person before you compassionate enough to hold the space for you while you move through what you're moving through in that moment? You
Yeah,
know, do
yeah.
they have the capacity to be like, okay, this is just a moment where Jason is just experiencing himself through something that has happened to him that he needs to now work through, because this is the moment where once upon a time he believed that he did not have to work through it. He did not have to allow it to show up for it to be dissolved.
Yep.
And now it's coming up for him to actually see it. So I'm gonna hold the space for him. I'm gonna just sit here and allow it to happen, not be reactionary, not judging, but be more loving, to be more open to who he is, and to just see that he is me and I am him. And I love him just like he is loving himself in this moment of unfoldment and revealing.
So evolved. It's so evolved. Like even hearing you, it's so beautiful. And even for me at my thresholds of at new thresholds and expanding my capacity, but now expanding the capacity when going through grief and a life trigger, right? Because that
Yeah.
shrinks my capacity for others because I have to hold so much capacity for myself in order to process what I'm processing
Yes.
in order for me to get to
Yeah.
neutrality and get to being benign, the benign observer, and get to unconditional love, I've got to move through the stages like the David Hawkins, shame, guilt, grief, apathy, like all of that stuff. Not never apathy, because I always care. And
Yes.
I won't
Yes.
say that because I'm sure there's some things politically that I have apathy with that I'm trying to break up. But that's protection, self-protection.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Dog, like I just love you. Thank you for being you. And thank you for allowing me to continue to grow because I called this in. I called you in. I called in. I was like, Spirit, this year, like, no more my shrinking. Please, iron sharp as iron. Like the circle now, I am
Mm.
around divinely guided people and kind, divinely guided people. Kind, divinely guided people. And so I had to look at myself. Where am I not kind to myself? Where am I not
Yes.
divinely guided? Oh, that survival trait, that reactionary, that fear, it had me going for a minute. And then I could sit back and be like, that's not mine. That's not mine. That's not mine. I live in faith. I always have lived
Yes.
in faith. Give this fear back to the universe to be transmuted back to unconditional love because it's not mine.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Coming in from people, places, or things, the TV, you know what I'm saying? Like coming home to that truth because to melt the denial that I have to like deny who I am and my power and the fact that it doesn't matter where I came from, who I came from. I was born on purpose, in purpose, and for.
Yes. 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 Yes.
I have to have self worth and self love and beyond beauty, self love, emotional,
Yes. Yes.
spiritual, play, financial, creative. Like there's many pieces of the self love people focus on. Let me go get the self love and self care are two different things as well. And self nurturance and learning to
Yes.
do it, I think is it for me is just continuing to evolve because I wasn't taught it. So I had to learn it on my own, you know?
Yes. Yeah. And that's funny you say that you weren't taught and you had to learn on your own. Yeah, I was steeped in it mostly all my life, except for maybe like 1 or 2 years where, or 3 years actually, where, my mom, who was raised Pentecostal, thought that we weren't that what my uncle was teaching wasn't structured enough for us
Mm,
because she was raised in a place where she believed was structured, but yet it was more damaging because it was limiting. And what my uncle was teaching us was more expansive understanding and awareness of our lives. And
yeah.
so even though I was getting those teachings, and even though my mom's and my uncle's sister took over after my uncle stepped down and then introduced me to Reverend Michael and Ricky, and then also introduced me to other authors like Jack Addington, you know, even though I was in it, I still wasn't getting it.
Right.
And because I wanted to learn more, because I wanted to be more expansive, I had to dissolve a marriage in order for me to move from the East Coast to the West Coast, and then to actually be immersed in the teachings of Reverend Michael and Agape,
Your
for
whole
me
life
to
had to
now
be so.
my whole life had to die in order for me to be reborn again.
Whew,
it,
real.
it did. It had to die in order for me to be rebirthed, and so then that's where I was able to um then tap in to what was being taught to me over there
Right.
to really be available to how it and what it's supposed to show it for me here.
Mm,
And I needed to be with me in order to do that because everything else was a distraction.
mm. Whew. Thank you for sharing that. And the willingness to like walk away and know when enough is enough because I'm also dissolving a marriage, as you know. And
Hmm.
choosing to raise a child in it, and then losing that is so, it's so multi-layered, but it's going to be coming up on a year anniversary. And I'm like, okay, God, is enough. Like I have to move on, because this dissolving of this old me and the person that is being born every single day of like, how did I allow this?
Mm-hmm.
How can I become a better woman and a better mother and a better wife,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what, through this, right? And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
on the same way to also congratulate myself and like we did our best. Like I know I did.
Yeah.
I'm sure you did your best too.
Yeah.
To not have the weight of the grief. And that's what I'm saying, like the grief that comes with that. And it takes time. So
Mm-hmm.
did it take a few years, or like what is the time that you think you took for you to really like, okay, my whole life just dissolved, whether it's dissolving family, places, things, or whatever, what we're going through. So how much time does one need to really truly allow themselves to be free?
Yeah. As long as it takes. As long as it takes, because like this awakening has allowed me to realize that I was trying to function from an old paradigm, from a hurt child perspective.
Yes.
This is what I needed you to do and be for me in order for this relationship to work, in order for me to be able to function properly for you. And that wasn't working because I too was also being confronted with that same conversation from the person on the other side of me.
Yep.
This is what I need to do in order for you to love and to function in this relationship, in order for me to love and to function in this relationship for you. And so this very person that's hurt just as much as I am is
Yep.
trying to have a loving relationship when we both don't know what love is. We only know what we think that love is and how we want love to be. And then we're not able to communicate it because we never had the proper, because everybody talked to us in baby talk and never talked to us in human talk.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? And I'll explain that, because when people grow up, when children used to grow up, they were like, "Oh man, they're so cute, you're so baby," like that. But then, like my sister taught me with my nephew, don't talk to him like that. Talk to him like he's a person that understands what you're saying. Just like how people talk to dogs. How
Yep.
about that? Let's go there, right? People talk to
Yep.
dogs like they understand what the hell they're saying, right? So how come we can't do that for one another
Well, that's
when
back.
as we're growing up?
That's the level of they did their best truly, because they weren't loved the way they did not know love, or they didn't know
Yeah,
in speaking,
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's interesting, Jason. It's quite interesting, because we also know that love, this is in the beginning of this year, that was what I realized. Love is my teacher, the greatest teacher. And I don't know what love is. And that's a beautiful place to begin. That was the beginning.
Mm,
That was in January of 2024. I had,
mm-hmm,
I was with one of my teachers, Miriam Husna, shout out to New Earth Mystery School. And I was in an event, and the whole concept was on relationships and loves, and truly doing that emotional transformation and alchemy to really, 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 really like just catalyze into a new relationship paradigm where love is having a whole new architecture, a whole new foundation, a whole new meaning that is beyond understanding, you know.
mm-hmm,
And for me, that this year, and I'm grateful because it just brings me back to true unconditional love, because I can,
mm-hmm,
where I, like you just described so beautifully, was trapped as an inner child so much, trying to love,
mm,
help being a grown woman, but my inner child was reacting and scared and hurt and healing big things, going through big things. And so it's like, okay, of course, baby, of course that happened. And that's okay. You were not taught differently. And
yes, yes,
this had to go. This is called healing generational trauma. And
yes,
now
yes,
in the mirror, I will do different. And I will never, ever again make those same, I won't even say mistakes, because they're growing pains.
yes, 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 that part.
Growing pains. I didn't make any mistakes,
Yes,
period. I truly didn't. Growing pains. And and I'm even proud. Thank you for like, I'm proud of myself and allowing it. I'm proud of you. I don't know if you relate to that, but when
I
one
feel it.
pure heart and a pure mind, and I literally tried and come with God values, like, baby, there's no mistakes.
Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. My uncle told me before he passed, weeks before he passed, he was like really pouring into me a lot of information. And it was just like every moment we got together, he just wanted to continue to pour into me. And I believe he knew that I was the very vessel that was going to be able to express this information that he was given. And the one thing he always said, that there are no problems in God. There
Ashe.
are no mistakes in God. There's nothing in God that is against us. There is always something that is for us. And and even Ishmael, brother Ishmael Tete, like it took me a minute to really tap into that brother. And when he spoke one day, I think it was like a year or two ago, when he came back to Agape, and it was like, and it hit me, and
Fire.
it's like smacked me right. He is fire, right? He is, I mean, he is amazing, Ishmael Tete is. And he said, anything good and anything bad all came from God.
Yeah.
And I said, you got to be kidding me. What do you mean?
Yep.
But that was my awakening at that moment, that everything that happened came from God for me to see exactly what my life can be, what I can work through, how I can maneuver, and then how I can be that beneficial presence.
Yes, Ashe. And so it is. You are. We are.
And I just want to say one more thing. We're talking about releasing recalibrating childhood trauma, how we're actually taking what has happened to our lives, and how our family dynamics have been created based upon that.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say, I want to give props to my mom. Before she passed away, she passed away a month after this happened. She had reached out to me back in 2019, and she said, because I did a one man show called Shut Up, and it was about my growing up having these seizures, and what happened to me based on that, and the mindset and the beliefs that took place. And so she knew I was doing this. And I told her I was doing it. So, she was definitely going to come on the opening and everything, but she never showed, but that's okay. Um, we had a session because she wanted to have either a therapy session or a practitioner session with me. And like I kept pushing it off because I was just like, after all these years of you like looking at Iyanla Fix My Life and saying, these people need to get over themselves, but then, you realize that what was happening was transforming,
Yeah.
and then now you want to do this. And so let me get to the point of what I'm trying to say here and all this. She told me about what happened to her at 5 years old.
Ashe.
And like that was the most traumatic experience that I've ever heard in my life, next to
Mm-hmm.
mine.
Mm-hmm.
And she carried that with her.
Yeah.
She never got any help.
So you telling your truth gave her permission to tell her truth.
And she absolutely,
Yeah.
absolute.
Yeah.
And that like that was just like I really thank her for that,
Shout out to your mama.
because she apologized to me.
Yeah.
She said, I brought children into this world with this mindset, and I tried to raise them the best way I could, but yet I was raising them out of fear and out of anger and out of pain.
What type of healing, man? That's rare. That is so rare that you got to experience that witnessing and that loving witness and ashe and affirmation from your mother. Like, God bless. That's a blessing. I'm so happy that you had that.
I'm happy too. You
But
know,
I
I
want
can feel
to
more lenient.
wrap it up.
Okay. All
Oh,
right.
but I'm grateful, my brother. Thank God. Thank you for sharing that story. God bless her. God bless this. So, the awakenings that we have and the awakenings that we get to transform, and your mother and your history, God bless your history, like the way that we get to, when you have your kids and I will have a healthy marriage, we get to just break and end this generational trauma. So closing us out, y'all, this is Surviving a Spiritual Awakening Part 1, okay? With my brother, Jason Benefield. Let them know where they can find you. And, I'll also post it in the show notes.
Sure, absolute. So my website is www.jasonabenifield.com. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Jason A. Benefield. And if you want to email me, shucks, email me at jasonabenefield@gmail.com. I'm available at all these platforms.
I love you. Well, thank you everybody for
I
listening to
love you.
Revolutionary Anecdotes. Thank you, Jason, for coming on and being an incredible, incredible human being. And thank you for being my accountability brother and guy.
Absolutely. Thank you
Guys,
for
it
having
sure
me.
is. I give thanks for you and I give thanks for everybody listening. May you hear this, resonate with it. Check out the other episodes. We on here just to hold space for each other. You are love, you are light. Be revolutionary, y'all. Peace.
Peace.